I think we're done with milquetoast conservatism. I think the people that aren't willing to fight don't realize that it's later in the game than you think. So I'm going to come up with some of these, my own philosophy on what I'm doing even here on YouTube, where I make fun of the enemy and defend our side. But this is a great article. I got to kind of qualify it. This is by Kurt Schlichter. It's kind of like written in a high school rant, but I think he brings up some good points, and we're going to mull over them here together. In Exile, welcome. This is kind of more on the think tank side of what are we doing as conservatives? Here's the headline from Town Hall. Conservatives need to man up and play by the new rules. Good gosh. Could the conservatives be any, that's a hard word, conservateur? That's a rhetorical question because the answer is obvious. Yes, they can, and they can do it so on a regular basis. Last week, we were treated to the glorious tableau of Texas cops in all the colors of the ethnic rainbow, grabbing and manhandling scumbag Hamas lovers off the lawn at University of Texas. This should have been a time of celebration for us normal people. This should have been a time of joy, arresting Hamas protesters. Instead, we got these conservative weenies upset that Greg Abbott was arresting people for exercising what they wrongly claim is their right of free speech. And that's what we're watching right now play out on the news. And the news loves the clicks. And I don't want to lean into that at all. But there really is a debate on campus where there's a bunch of pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protesters that are a mob, a threatening mob. And they're breaking windows in colleges. And there's good conservative Christians and Jews defending the institution and being more polite in their response. All the Palestinians that I've seen are mostly feminist women wearing masks, screaming, and using cuss words. So they're blowing up. And now this article is kind of proposing we should do something like that back to them. That does not make me comfortable, but I'm going to lean into it. We're going to weigh it. We're going to consider it. And then I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What should we do? It wasn't about their free speech. They were trespassing, harassing Jews, and camping out on the lawn like a bunch of Scat Francisco hobos. That's not free speech. That's a bunch of commies being jerks. It's also a mob. And free speech, you're not supposed to gather a dangerous mob and intimidate people. That's not the purpose of free speech. And that's what I believe is happening at the college campuses. And on that, you should be able to arrest them, remove them by force. We have to ask ourselves, what are the rules? And this I like, because what is a rule? It's something that must be applied to both sides. What are the rules that apply to the situation? Well, it's not free speech. I know what rules would apply if the situation involved one of the favored groups being threatened by a bunch of Gibbos chanting about ethnic cleansing them. So if there's any kind of a weird Charlotte group of 300 supremacists claiming ethnic cleansing, they'd be shut down. If you're a pro-lifer praying outside of a Planned Parenthood, quietly even protesting, you're allowed to protest, but it's against the law in many places, your free speech. If you assembled a mob of 1,800 people shouting and breaking windows out of Planned Parenthood like they're doing at these universities, guess what would happen to you? You'd be inside a cell next to Bubba. My friends in the pro-life community, by the way, who get arrested, they throw them in the clink with, sexual assault people on purpose to punish them extra for their free speech. And threats are A-okay if the target is a Christian, particularly a straight white one who wields a penis. If it's white rural ragers being stupid, bring on the National Guard battalion. But if you're a bunch of motley degenerates with daddy issues and rings through their noses and blue hair, simping to save murderous communists in some foreign cesspool from righteous retribution, oh no, send in the counselors, the grievance counselors. This reminds me of in 2016 when I worked on VeggieTales for this is a DreamWorks Netflix project. When Trump won the election, DreamWorks said all of the employees were excused if they needed a day to cope. And all I could say is, what if Hillary won? Would I be given a day off to cope with the win? No, of course not. The rules only apply to one side. Yeah, the barn door's been left open on the whole, hey, if we suppress their free speech on campus, they'll suppress ours formulation. Conservatives warning that if we're mean to them, they'll be mean to us, are hopeless. Let me draw your attention to the last 20 years of suppressing our free speech on campus. The 2024 free speech rules are really simple. The commies get to do whatever they want, and it's free speech. We attempt to exercise our free speech, and it's threat to our democracy. We saw that on January 6th. They've done nothing. The January 6th people have done nothing that every college campus has done. The lefties on the campus. Remember the Black Lives Matter, what they call mostly peaceful protests, were riots. They left 25 cops dead, did billions of dollars worth of damage, and they get a pass. All of them got a pass. In fact, Kamala Harris still has a tweet up that she would pay the bail bond to anyone who got arrested for those peaceful protests. So right up to the vice president, they're providing cultural coverage for people who are a mob of intimidation. Those are the rules. So the right should be able to put together a mob of intimidation. And we already know it won't work. So this Kurt Schlichter is just angry that we're not applying the same bad rules to them. I still say they're bad rules, and he acknowledges the same. So let's get to that. Now, I'm not saying that I like the new rules. I don't. I think the new rules are bad. I'm just accepting that the rules have changed, stating what the new rules are, and strongly urging us to play by them. I want to be very clear. I've been for nearly a decade because there are stupid people out there who can't hear this often enough. I was against imposing the new rules. I argued against them. I warned people against these new rules time and time again. But you know what? I was overruled about the new rules. A lot of people, mostly leftists, but some pseudo-conservatives, decided we would go with the new rules. I want to underline that pseudo-conservative line, because conservatives always claim to be for the rules. But if you don't rigorously defend them, if you don't rigorously bring justice to people who break them, this is what happens. You get mob rule. The laws are there. It's like the truth. They're not going anywhere, but you still have to execute on them. You have to employ them. You have to use them. And so by people being nice and going, hey, we don't want to look bad by shutting down this protest. We don't want to look like a police state. You end up unleashing a mob on innocent people. And this is, I just think if you look at this protester footage, I'm not showing it here, but I would not feel comfortable being in that mob. And I have friends defending Israel in that mob. And they're not comfortable, and they shouldn't feel comfortable. It's terrifying. I have a nephew who's over there witnessing to them right now on UCLA campus. And man, is his eyes open. He's going, holy cow, you won't believe what's going on. And he's out there spreading the gospel, which we love that free speech. There are several important reasons why we must turn the new rules back upon our enemies. First, they deserve it. They're schmucks. They're bad people. And we should do everything we legally and morally can to cause them misery and to ensure that they are disconnected from opportunity to govern, rule, or exercise any kind of authority whatsoever. I want them disenfranchised, and I agree. That's why we use memes. We make fun of the enemies. Here's a great meme. Me watching rich kids burn their colleges down. Yeah, these are elite liberal institutions. And I kind of like seeing them get dismantled from within as a warning to, this is your policy on steroids. Doing great. And you're going to defend this? Okay, burn it all down. It's going to all come down because they're not educating people about math, and they're not reading the Peloponnesian Wars anymore. They're doing feminist algebra. I want them broken. I want them crushed and begging for mercy. Why am I so vindictive? I mean, besides that it's fun, it is fun. Self-preservation, there you go. This is, to me, is the only justifiable thing, because he goes into revenge, and I don't believe in vengeance. God says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. He also seems to foment anger. I believe in righteous indignation. I think there is a righteous form of anger, but the Bible warns a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man is under control. And I think that's keeping yourself under control is the wise man, makes you a more effective person in battle. You don't want someone just flailing off, no organization, collateral damage, going crazy. That's not an effective tool. Staying under control, not letting your anger have you make irrational decisions will help our cause. So we got to keep our heads, guys. There's another good reason for ruthlessly inflicting the new rules upon them. They won't learn otherwise. The one thing we cannot do is allow them to change the new rules and benefit from them while unilaterally disarming and accept. That's brilliant. They have to be painful consequences for their misdeeds with an emphasis on the painful part. That's what punishment is. It's to get them to change their behavior. And some people, it's the only way they'll learn, right? And I'll only quote Ronald Reagan on this to wrap up, because this goes into a level of vitriol and anger that I just don't believe in that kind of retribution and vengeance. Ronald Reagan in the Cold War, remember Russia, they had an arms race, and Russia was getting nukes and we were getting nukes, right? So we had to keep getting more and more nukes, enough to wipe the world out 5 times, 10 times over, whatever. But it's because we couldn't unilaterally disarm and win. That's how you lose. It's not that you have to use your weapons. It's that you have to look like you could use your weapons in a worst case scenario. And if you don't push and hold them to this account, like if you don't in some way push these rules back so that they feel it in their face, they won't stop. It's the only way to get them to stop. And in the name of just war theory, it might be the most peaceful, lowest body count way to get them to stop is to come in with our own hard vitriol, hard law, hold them to it, prosecute them completely within the fairness of the law. I don't know if that's old rules or new rules, but you have to hold them to it, even if it's just for a season, so that they learn, oh, if I do this to you, you do it back to me. And I hope, Trump said he wants to do a one-day dictatorship, and he didn't mean it in the way that the press means it. He means he's going to go into the state and hopefully fire every appointment. And I mean every appointment, just to start over. He had to fire every appointment and then install all of his allies and people that are willing to take some kind of a loyalty pledge. Let's just start there. That's legal. It's allowed. And Trump only needs to do it for 24 hours or maybe a week. Come in hard, gut the place, overturn the FBI, overturn the IRS, any state job that is up for grabs. He should just instantly start, even if you're close and kind of good, he should take you out and go, we'll see what kind of job you did before we decide to rehire you. Now, let me know what you guys think. How far do we go using the liberals' tactics that they used against us? How far will you go? I know that you're not going to become a liberal, but we have to at least agree that it's temporary. Is that right? Until we can restore the rule of law. I'm Doug in Exile.